there are some things in life which one doesn't think twice about because you've grown up around it and it doesn't seem harmful. It seems perfectly normal, perfectly regular, a part of your life. And for me, animals happen to be just that because I've grown up pretty much holding on to dogs and cats. You know how babies learn to stand holding a cradle or a wall. I probably did that holding on to dogs and cats. And because I've always been around them, I've never really considered them harmful or scary. And I've always been deeply, deeply enamored by stories about animals. I mean, I had a creative collection. So to me, animals were completely humanized and they had emotions. And so by the time I was 13, I was keeping 8 rats in my cupboard. And I didn't think there was anything wrong. There was rat poop all over my clothes and they were chewing my clothes. I never considered I would get, a disease, or I actually never even realized it was rat poop till much, much later on. And I currently still have 2 dogs and 5 guinea pigs and 5 cats and a lot of crows. And so that there's a lot of not just feces around, but also chances where my skin breaks and, cats scratch and dogs scratch and sometimes a crow bites. So for me, it's all part of life. I've never really thought twice, but it's not this way for many, many people. And I was once dating a doctor and I got bitten by my dog in front of him. Not bitten badly, but, a playful scratch. And he panicked. Like he was completely, completely shell shocked. And he freaked out. He said, no, 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 you have to get a rabies vaccine. You don't have a choice. And I said, but my dog is vaccinated. What's going to happen? And he said, no, 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 if you get rabies, you'll be scared of water, you'll have a horrible death, you'll be doing this and that. And we don't take chances, in allopathic medicine. And I said, okay, fine, sure. So we went to Safdarjung Hospital, which is in Delhi. And not only did I receive a tetanus, but they took it very seriously. It was the first time I realized that dog bites are not, something you just it just happens. It's happened so many times before to me also. I never did anything. And so everyone arrived and I was given, of course, an anti-rabies vaccine, but I was also given immunoglobulin, which is because the bite was a bit deep. They said, no, 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 it will take too long for your body to produce antibodies to fight the virus. So we have made these antibodies inside a horse. And first we're going to test it and see if you have a reaction. And I didn't. And then they put that right into the wound. And it was, oh my God, excruciatingly painful. And it hurt. And I have 25 tattoos, and let me tell you, nothing has ever hurt as much as immunoglobulin going into a fresh wound. And thereafter, I had to take the entire 5 dose course of medicine. And they were very, very, like, uh, very, very strict about it, actually. The doctor who was looking after me in Safdarjung actually would call and say, your dose, you don't miss it, finish the whole dose. And this was a good 10 years ago. And since then, we've been reading so much about monkey bites and dog bites and people are having all sorts of phobias and scares. In fact, I live close to Jahanpana Forest in Delhi, and very often we get these groups of monkeys. And currently, one group has had 4 babies. So the mothers are extra protective and cranky, and a lot of people have been bitten. And the first thing that they tend to do is actually put tons and tons of sanitizer and disinfectant and whatnot. And then a doctor told me actually the best thing to do is to wash it with soap and water, like really, really wash it, and then go to a doctor. And and that sort of advice I've gotten from wildlife experts. I've gotten from people who are habituated to being bitten because they're handling animals so much, even from vets actually, that before you go rushing to emergency care, just if you take that 5-10 minutes and just wash it thoroughly with soap and keep on washing it, um, then of course go to the doctor. And so these are little things which even I have learned after many, many years of keeping animals and being around them. And I thought, with the sort of fears and also, I mean, it's not an unfounded fear. It is becoming a lot more common now, or maybe we're just hearing more about it. I thought it would be very, very informative if we had a point of care episode on animal bites. So we have with us today Dr. Kritika Sharma. She is an emergency medicine specialist at Regency Health Hospital. And so she's going to be able to tell us exactly what to do once we're bitten. Hello, doctor.
So you have already given a brief idea about, and you have especially given an idea about the treatment part. So yes, you are quite aware about the treatment part, probably because of an incident you had in your life. But yes, while I'm talking to you, the major idea is that the audio is clear. So while I'm talking to you, the major idea is that to spread knowledge amongst the people to change their attitude towards this particular topic of animal bite, any animal bite, and what all practices common masses can bring into the society, into their lifestyle also, even at home. What can they do to educate their children so that this problem, this is one of the major problem, an endemic problem in our country, and our government, multiple government organizations are also now working to eliminate this rabies by 2030. This is one of the episodes of for animal bite. One of the major disease problems is rabies. So first thing is that yes, this is a preventable thing. Animal bites are preventable. Only that the people have to change their attitude. They should be educated. They have to educate children in their family also. Because, yes, these days the cases are rising. And yes, also with this awareness programs, the awareness amongst people that what is happening, yes, people are quite well aware. So I think any kind of animal bite, you mentioned also, be it dog bite, cat bite,
Mhm.
say monkeys are there. Even in India, we consider other animals such as if say somebody is if petting some horse is there, somebody.
Goats. I got bitten by a goat just a week ago.
Yes, yes. Goats, sheep, even cow we
Yes.
consider because we don't know is there any wound over that animal might
Mhm.
have been exposed to some rabid animal or to some rabies virus. And yes, you'll talk about the rat exposure also. If
Yeah.
rat has bitten,
Yeah.
yes.
So I wanted to ask you one thing before we go further. Um, the skin is a very, very strong protective barrier that we all have. And when you break it, you're essentially vulnerable to a whole
Okay.
bunch of things. So, I mean, when you're bitten versus when you fall down and get hurt, so which has more of a threat to your health? Or is it both equally the same? Or like, say, for example, I fall down and I get hurt and I'm bitten. Am I then exposed to a double threat by both virus and bacteria?
See, the scenario when we fall down, say in the soil or in some dirty environment like that, mostly we are exposed to some different virus and being bitten, mostly what we are considering India to be rabies endemic. So I think, in my opinion, because rabies till date has been 100% fatal. So yes, of course, rabies being bitten by an animal is more fatal, but yes, it is also 100% preventable. And as for once you mentioned also that when you went to the hospital, you received tetanus vaccine also. So like falling down in the soil, dirty mud, that kind of environment, or some being hit by some rusted object, so tetanus vaccine is also there. Tetanus toxoid is also there. But yes, rabies is more fatal. It is more dangerous than the tetanus.
And 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 could you just briefly explain rabies as a disease? What it does to you and why we don't have a cure for it yet?
See, this is basically a viral illness, and mostly it is transmitted by the animal source. So, an animal can be any by any animal. In India, we do not have it transmitted by bats, but yes, in foreign countries, bats are also carriers for this particular virus. So, whenever any animal is biting, dog, cat, we are considering mostly in an Indian scenario. So, as the animal bites, that virus is inoculated in human blood, human skin. So as you told, that skin barrier is breached actually. So when the skin barrier is breached, the virus is going to travel throughout the body. Now, for particularly for rabies virus, it has more affinity to travel to our nervous system, basically. So once nervous system gets affected, like our neurological part gets affected, brain and other spinal cord, so that is more dangerous. That is that will be kind of 100% fatal later on if proper treatment is not received. So I think for this, timely intervention is required, which I'll discuss about what is the importance of a timely intervention treatment, and that one needs to report to the healthcare expert like that. So this we'll discuss.
So I remember, having gone to a small village once, and they'd suspected a woman of having rabies because the dog that she had, and she had this lovely Pahari dog, had died suddenly. So they thought she had rabies, and they were very, very sure she was going to start barking like a dog, and then bite someone, and then rabies would spread, and certain incredibly unfortunate things were done to her. And so I was just curious, have you ever seen a patient start barking like a dog or meowing like a cat?
Okay,
Or
so
what do
I'll
monkeys
first
do? What sounds do monkeys make?
no,
Howl like a
no,
monkey?
okay, so nothing like that. The patient starts barking like a dog. Actually, when they try to breathe, first I'll clear this myth. When they try to breathe, the sound that actually comes out that mimics as though some dog is barking. But yes, regarding the symptoms, symptoms start with as simple as a fever. So it becomes our responsibility that we ask them, we take their history and we analyze. Because these cases, the virus can remain dormant for months also. So maybe 1 year back, somebody was bitten by a dog, maybe just a small scratch or abrasion was there. They did not care, only this is some small scratch is there. So now they just left it that way only. And later on, after 1 year, they're having some fever. We are evaluating, they're taking medicines for fever. But yes, then it turns out to be there was some kind of animal exposure was there. So yes, actually that barking manner is actually the sound that is the airway or while breathing, actually that sound is produced. So that seems like as if the person is barking. So actually it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, so but imagine if someone says you're barking like a dog and you got rabies, but you've actually been bitten by a cat. So
Yes,
you can actually
yes.
refute them and say, no.
No.
No. So tell me something. You mentioned something about treatment, which, is something that I've been sort of thinking about ever since you said. Um, I was under the impression that it's completely incurable and you can't do anything and you die a horrific death. Please, please don't tell me that it's curable now. I would have saved myself a lot of pain then.
So, see, the first measure that have to be taken or that should be taken, and I think everybody in every household should be aware about this. Suppose you have been bitten by any animal. Yes, the first step comes that do not panic and you have to rush to your nearest healthcare facility. But at point or at places wherein if we are a bit away from the healthcare facility, so then in those cases, the first step becomes washing the wound very thoroughly. And it is stated in the guidelines that the wound has to be washed for 15 to 20 minutes. And it is good that if you wash it with soap and water, and if by any chance at home you are having that iodine or some antiseptic solution, any kind of antiseptic solution, it has to be washed thoroughly. Even if you come to any healthcare facility, the first step any healthcare professional will do is just washing that wound with the help of a timer, I should say, for 15-20 minutes, because that is the standard treatment.
And
Because
can you
washing
please also add just how painful it is? Because you're washing that open wound directly and you're not given any anesthesia or
uh-huh.
warning, I might add.
Yeah, it is painful, but yes, later on after washing, because then we first of all our priority is to give some painkillers actually to the patient. Then only we proceed with vaccines and other this immunoglobulin thing. the vaccine, the thing we have to give in the at the wound. So yes, painkillers are yes an important essential part of that. So we give painkillers also, but yes, washing is painful. I understand that, but that is the first step. Why? Because I've seen people, they apply turmeric, they apply lime, some of them apply red chili powder, they apply some oils, some other petroleum products around that. So, oh my God, so it will spread the blood loss, or it will stop the blood loss, or like that. So, applying all these things is common not only in rural places, also in urban places also. So all these are myth that you apply some lime, that chuna jise kehte hain, and turmeric or red chili, anything like that. Nothing has to be applied. Simply wash with water if you cannot wash it with soap or any antiseptic solution, and keep the wound clean, and then come to hospital so that we start further treatment. So that
Yeah.
is
Do you
very
want to
essential.
share some stories about the strangest treatments you've ever heard about? I mean, you just shared yours. I should tell you, I know of a highly educated lady, very well traveled, and not at all ignorant and living, unconnected. She got bitten by her dog, and her cure was to ask the dog to lick it because the dog's saliva is apparently very, very powerfully antibacterial, and she was sure that if there's rabies in the wound, the dog itself would consume it.
Okay. So yes, that is what I'm telling you. Ki not only we cannot judge this. See, we are nobody's better aware about what exactly the problem is, what exactly the cure is, and so no cadre of the society. We cannot judge it by that. So if you're not having adequate knowledge, and if proper awareness is not there, yes, these kind of myths prevail in the society. And yes, it is very important. Just because the awareness is not there, uh, the cases that we have seen, if they tell us that yes, there was some kind of animal exposure, even monkey exposure also, monkey exposure also I've seen. So there was some kind of exposure. Then later on digging them, asking them again and again what exactly happened, was there anything like that, when we are not able to determine what exactly is the cause of the disease that they are having. So when we again and again ask them, then they tell us clearly ki, yes, there was something. So actually, the virus can stay dormant in the body from days to years, months, years, like that. So even after years, if somebody is having something, some fever is there, they're feeling weak, just normal symptoms are there. And if you are not able to determine other causes of fever, then yes, this thing has to come out that sometime they had some animal exposure. So this kind of.
Tell me something. Suppose a dog or a cat or any of these animals have been vaccinated for rabies, and one is regularly keeping up to date with the vaccination. Why do doctors still advise, us humans to go and get anti-rabies vaccine?
This is a very good question, and I think
Because
80%.
that's one of the reasons a
Yes,
lot of pet owners don't go.
yes. 80% of our patients, they come and ask us only this question, that the dog has been completely vaccinated. They have that vaccine book also for dogs. I also had a pet, so we have that book also. So still, do we have to get vaccinated? See, when we are advising as healthcare professionals to anybody that you have to take the whole course of vaccine, the idea behind that is the dog is completely vaccinated. That is a good point. But yes, the vaccine that the dog took at that particular point of time, was the dog not in an ill state? The vaccine storage was good or not for that dog? Was the vaccine, or was that effective at that particular point of time? Maybe the dog had some fever, some other kind of illness. They took that vaccine. The vaccine did not work well for that particular slot. So some chances, which this is the only thing what I meant, that this is preventable. So these are some factors we consider, that why to have even 1% of risk, or why to take 1% of chance also that somebody can contract rabies, some human can contract rabies. So yes, these are some factors why we advise that you have to take complete course even though the pet is vaccinated.
I used to make a lot of fun of doctors earlier. I used to think they always have the worst case in their mind. They're always extra paranoid, extra cautious. But I have over the years come to realize that you guys get to see such awful things and you
Yeah.
actually get to see the worst case scenario that you know why it's not worth the risk. So I was just, you could maybe share some of some rabies or animal bite cases which you've seen go horribly wrong, because I'm sure you would have, working in
Yes,
emergency
because
medicine.
yes, we have seen because those patients at their end stage, like mostly young patients I've seen, and say they are in the age group of 20 to 30s, two, three male patients I remember. And yes, of course, from rural areas, but that is not the criteria, rural or urban. So mostly they came from some village background. The family tells that 2, 3 months back they were bitten by this particular dog or any other street animal. So what I have seen progressing was from simple factors. They brought the patient, simple fever was there, weakness. They were getting evaluated elsewhere. These are There have been cases at other hospitals also, so they were getting evaluated elsewhere. But now when they are coming to us, the complaint is that he's not able to drink water. And even if we are bringing water in front of them to drink, even if they are drinking water, the attendants, the patient is getting agitated. So okay, that strikes one very important point in mind, that this could be a very advanced or progressed stage of rabies. So at that point of time, we were so helpless. Now patient cannot drink water, and even if he or she is thirsty. So either we give them that IV fluids, if you understand, by drip, by cannula, we give water. But as the stage advances, what I have seen, they get so aggressive, so agitated. You cannot even go near to them to give them some medicine to calm down or anything like that. Then we have to use some sedatives, other things we used on that patient. But ultimately, an isolated room is what where we keep them, because their behavior, even some noise also is making them aggressive. Water has gone now from their life, so even the noise is also making them aggressive. Some are get aggressive by light exposure also. So these kind of things happen, and ultimately the end is fatal only. So I have seen two young female patients having this kind of fate. But yes, just because people are not aware, and they did not take timely treatment. Vaccines and immunoglobulins were very far away from their treatment plan.
And actually, immunoglobulin is extremely expensive if you go to a private hospital, and it's difficult to get in public healthcare. I was very lucky at that time. Um, how necessary is it to take immunoglobulin, or is it okay to just take the vaccine itself?
Our government of India, this also is a point that some vaccines, some immunoglobulins, they are very expensive. Yes, there are different kind of this immunoglobulins, but yes, our government of India, they have launched some comparatively less expensive, or I should say some comparatively cheaper this immunoglobulin, and equally effective. There's nothing like that we have to take those expensive ones only. So they have launched some equally efficacious kind of immunoglobulins. And yes, they are very important if there has been blood in the wound. If there are very deep wounds, the skin flap is coming out or something like that is there. So immunoglobulins are very, very important. And yes, I do understand, just because of their cost problems, that many people ignore them at that particular point of time. But yes, there are other options also available. So not always the expensive ones are there. Now I think maximum hospitals, they have started keeping these other less expensive ones also. So they're very, very important in cases if there has been bleeding from that particular site of bite.
And tell me about the course of vaccination of rabies, because it's a 5-dose course.
Yeah. Yeah.
And very often people stop after 3 doses.
Yes.
Is
Yes.
that enough? Or like, I'm actually surprised by a couple of things even I'm learning today, and despite having been bitten and done everything. I didn't know that the virus stays dormant in your body. I thought if in 3 days you don't have rabies, you don't have to take anything also.
Mm. So you completed the whole course of vaccination at your time?
I did because I was dating a doctor, and I
Yes.
didn't
Yes.
want to break up at that time.
So,
Happened anyways,
generally,
but
yeah.
please continue.
Yeah. So generally, what people think, this sometimes this is advised if the dog is near or the cat is near, and if you can observe, actually there is a regime of taking the vaccine on the day of exposure, which we call day zero. There's a card also which we give to the patients. So there is day 3, day 7 from the day of exposure, day 21, day 14, and then day 28. So some people think that day 7 becomes from the day of exposure, actually becomes that after 10 days, if that particular animal, dog or cat,
Mm.
if that is alive, so it means it is not having rabies. There were no symptoms in that particular animal to behave like a rabid animal. So you can leave the further doses of vaccine. But this is 100% not recommended by WHO, World Health Organization guidelines. We have to take all 5 doses of vaccines as prescribed on the dates as prescribed. And if immunoglobulin is prescribed, then you have to take that also. And that should be taken simultaneously without any delay, because there is time frame for delay also, but I think immediately that should be taken. Immediately.
Yeah. Um, Actually, I am that some people that you're talking about. I was fortunate. I was in the right company at the time. I just wanted to end this on something which is, of course. Oh, wait, I had another question.
Yes.
Or rather, another thought just popped into my head, which was, you're not supposed to bandage animal bites, are you? Which is also the first thing that all of us tend to do if you're not going to a doctor. Could you also just mention the wound healing process? It's leave rabies, and hopefully stay safe from rabies, and just talk a bit about the bite itself.
Yes, yes. See, the first thing you asked me that we should not cover or bandage that. Generally, in other wounds, some wound is there, we generally do cover it, or we do the bandaging. But for this particular wound, even if not at that point of time, also sometimes uh, you understand the procedure of suturing. We stitch that wound. Suppose
Mm.
if it is very deep, in some cases we don't even stitch that wound also at that particular spot whenever the patient is coming. So they are also like, ma'am, there has been bleeding, why you are not stitching this wound, there's a lot of bleeding. Still we don't stitch that wound also. So why we don't cover and why we don't stitch the wound at that particular point of time? Because if we are giving that immunoglobulin at that particular wound site or at that particular area, we want that medicine to go deep within the layers, deep within the tissue, and to neutralize that virus. So that is why we are not covering it. That is why we are not stitching the wound at that particular point of time. So what we call is delayed primary closure, or we'll do suturing at some later phase, like after 1 or 2 weeks, according to the site. So the reason is this only, that we want at that particular point of time, we want to neutralize that particular virus. So that is why we don't cover or stitch that wound at particular point of time.
And if it's a deep wound, are there not chances that the
It
wound
might
could get
get
bacterial infections?
so in those stages, we yes do admit the patient. We can give intravenous antibiotics, or we can give
Hmm.
oral antibiotics also if they want to go home. And proper wound care has to be done, say washing it daily with some iodine antiseptic solution or like that. So actually, wound care is required, and then accordingly, say after few doses, then we can do wound closure or other things.
Mm. You know, before this last bit came to my mind, I was actually going to ask you something which is not so much related to animal bites, but related to emergency medicine. Now, if I'm not wrong, you've worked in Max Sackets, right?
Yes, yes.
And now you are in Gorakhpur, which I'm terrible, terrible, terrible in my geography. And I know I knew it was in UP, but sometimes it's just amazing to me how big the state is, and you're so far away, you're like almost touching Nepal, you know. So I was just curious to know, since we have the convenience of technology to connect us to doctors from all across the country, but is there a difference in emergency medicine medical care in from say the heart of South Delhi and Gorakhpur?
See,
I mean, are
there
the
is
cases different? Do people behave differently, or are they equally paranoid?
no. See, sometimes or many a times they are not having much awareness about the disease, the treatment part, what exactly is the problem with them. But yes, I think now in India, facilities are available everywhere. From Delhi to this place, Gorakhpur, healthcare facilities are available. Just that people are not quite well aware that when to seek medical care, from where to seek medical care. Like for our discussion scenario, they're not aware about this animal bite thing. They don't know about what is rabies. We have to go and get vaccines. Oh, the doctor ordered this vaccine. Now this is for even for the vaccine also. I'm telling, not for the immunoglobulin. Now the vaccine is costing some amount, so acha, we will see. They ignore this thing, and this is not here. Uh, in every city, I face this. That just because the knowledge is not there, proper awareness is not there, so they have this kind of behavior everywhere. But yes, once we educate them, or once they are taken into confidence and we tell them about what exactly is the disease, what is the course of action, and once they understand this, then yes, things get better, and then they take proper treatment. But yes, these days I think access to treatment is available everywhere. Just that they should know that where it is available and when to seek proper care. So there's not much difference left. But yeah, some things are there about awareness.
I've been, I myself am a very anxiety prone person, and just entering an emergency room, which one often has to do if you're working in health, um, I feel anxious because it is the most critical part of all healthcare, right? Like it's that first point of care. And um, and you see such, like the worst comes to you,
Yeah,
straight
yeah,
to you.
yeah.
How do you maintain your, calm and peace of mind? I mean, how do you go home? I mean, I'm just very, very curious because for me, it's fascinating as someone who wouldn't be able to process such a environment.
See, over the years, probably by practice, we have learned this, or say our mentors have been in this way, that while they have been training us, that the first rule in emergency and even in critical care, like ICUs, it is that we don't have to panic. So, if I will panic, or if anybody, any healthcare worker in emergency is going to panic, then already the patient or the attendants are coming to us in a panic state. So, first point comes then to calm them down so that I can perform my work on their patient. So, I think it has been by practice, or what all guidance has been given to us by the mentors only, that over years we have done that. We don't have to panic, because only if we don't, we can think of the proper treatment line, and then only we can cure the patient. So like that, this has been there.
No, I think it's a special doctor who can handle emergency care. So thank you for coming and sharing everything that you have. Thank you. I just wanted to end this with a quick note as to why you are worth um, attention and medical care, and why, despite all the inconveniences, you should get the vaccine done because I got bitten just before a long trip to Sri Lanka about 8 years ago. And well, we've all had terrible dog bites in my family. That's an entire episode by itself. But we still love dogs. But anyway, so I was bitten and I had to carry my vaccine with a prescription in a cooler. And I actually
Yeah.
transported it all across Sri Lanka till I found a GP who could administer it. And it turned out that private practitioners cannot, and only the public healthcare could. And so it was quite an experience. But I remember telling myself, because it's very, very annoying, to do all of this. And, and it's painful and there's a whole lot of things. But I just told myself that I deserve a chance to get better. And if there is this uh, scientific high guarantee method with which I can avoid getting rabies, then I should. And so I just wanted to really, really re-emphasize the fact that you deserve medical care. And you also deserve a chance to get to hear the kind of topics that you would like to. So if there is a particular health topic you'd like us to discuss, then please write to us at pods@indiatoday.com. And if you've enjoyed this episode, then leave us a rating, and you can also comment and leave feedback.